This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Optimize your nutrition with Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal service. Factor's fresh, never-frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Choose from 40 weekly options across 8 dietary preferences, like Calorie Smart and Protein Plus. Factor's keto meals can help you lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks. Get started at factormeals.com/factor50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Weight loss with Factor Keto based on a randomized controlled clinical trial. Results will vary depending on diet and exercise.
PayPal lets you pay all your pals, like your graduation gifters.
Who's paying for the mattress topper?
You mean the beanbag chair?
Aren't we getting a mini fridge?
Can we create a pool on PayPal? It lets us collect the money before we buy.
Ooh, yes, that's smart.
Glad we can agree on something.
Easily pool, split, and send money with PayPal. Get started in the PayPal app. A PayPal account is required to send and receive money. A balance account is required to create a pool.
Struggling to get out of bed? It might be time for an upgrade. Leesa makes exceptionally comfortable mattresses designed for every body and budget. But what truly sets them apart is their commitment to giving back. Since 2015, they've donated over 41,000 mattresses nationwide. Elevate your sleep and your space with Leesa. Go to Leesa.com for 20% off their award-winning mattresses, plus an extra $50 off with promo code IHEART. That's LEESA.com. Promo code IHEART for an extra $50 off.
Wolves fans, you know we just don't talk ball, we live it. And now we're throwing you a full court lob with $15 select tickets to select March games. Don't just hear us break it down. Be there. Feel the energy. Lose your voice. Howl with us. Use the code KFAN ! At timberwolves.com/March to get your $15 tickets. KFAN ! Is your code.
Do me a favor. I don't know that this particular song is in the bumper music library, but I need you to find it to come back with next segment, even though we're trying to get in and out of bumper songs pretty quick these days. It's a song by a group called Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes.
Okay.
And it's called The Love I Lost. It's an unbelievably brilliant soul song. And we'll play it because listening to Eric Musselman finally confirm what I'm not sure he's said publicly about the, what term do I use? Choke? Demolition job that Norwood Teague did on potentially bringing Eric Musselman in here is breathtaking. It's ancient history now. It goes back a long way. But, and by the way, Richard Pitino is a friend of this show. I'm not sitting here telling you Richard Pitino is a bad coach. He is not, as he has proven. But there's something really grotesque about setting up an interview in your process with a prospective head coach and apparently falling so much in love with another candidate you've interviewed first in Richard Pitino that you don't even have the decency to call that other coach and say, look, this is uncomfortable, but I'm not going to lie to you. Things move quicker than we thought with Richard Pitino, and we're down that road. And therefore, we're unfortunately canceling our meeting. Instead, according to Eric at least, it's let's just cancel the ticket and not talk to him at all. And I leave aside, again, what I think would have been a tremendous hire here for all the obvious reasons. I've been in Musselman's corner for years, as most of you know. He didn't say this. It's my opinion that if even before Ben Johnson was hired, and even though the timing was funky because Musselman hadn't been at Arkansas that long, I think if they would have been willing to put together not a AA ball offer, not a AAA ball offer, but a major league big boy offer, I think they could have gotten him. I think he at least would have considered it, as goofy as it would have been to leave again that quickly. We'll never know that one, but we will know that they had a shot at him. Now, at the point where they had a shot at him, is he admits freely he had not been a head coach as a college coach. However, he'd been an NBA coach and a very successful assistant coach as well. And we get confirmation that Norwood Teague, in his infinite wisdom, didn't even bother to follow through with the interview with him. It's amazing how history can be changed in some ways forever. And then perhaps one decision compounds the next decision, and then that compounds and hurts the next one as well. And here we're still sitting figuring out, is Nico going to be the guy? Is he the right guy? How long will he be the right guy, etc.? It feels like we've been, as long as I've been here, that's been an issue at the University of Minnesota. And some of it is bigness. Some of it is the ability to think big enough. You think as small as the market seems to be, relatively speaking, chances are you're never going to get to where you want to go. We'll come back. We got to get caught up after a long segment with Eric and give you a big dance up.
PayPal lets you pay all your pals, like your graduation gifters.
Who's paying for the mattress topper?
You mean the beanbag chair?
Aren't we getting a mini fridge?
Can we create a pool on PayPal? It lets us collect the money before we buy.
Ooh, yes, that's smart.
Glad we can agree on something.
Easily pool, split, and send money with PayPal. Get started in the PayPal app. A PayPal account is required to send and receive money. A balance account is required to create a pool.
Struggling to get out of bed? It might be time for an upgrade. Lisa makes exceptionally comfortable mattresses designed for every body and budget. But what truly sets them apart is their commitment to giving back. Since 2015, they've donated over 41,000 mattresses nationwide. Elevate your sleep in your space with Lisa. Go to lisa.com for 20% off their award-winning mattresses, plus an extra $50 off with promo code IHEART. That's LEESA.com. Promo code IHEART for an extra $50 off.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You guys know I'm always up for a good MVP story, and one of the best is the story of Wasabi Technologies. Wasabi is purpose-built to free businesses from skyrocketing storage costs and unpredictable egress fees from old and top-heavy legacy providers. You know, the big guys. Wasabi is the world's hottest cloud storage company, becoming the go-to provider for professional and collegiate sports teams and leagues around the world, and here's why. From Wasabi's AI-enabled intelligent media storage, Wasabi Air, to the industry's only cloud storage service with triple protection against cyber criminals, data deletion, and ransomware, Wasabi's taken the lead in driving innovation in data storage, eliminating overhead where it matters to deliver you results you can count on and won't break the bank. In fact, Wasabi is up to 80% less than those other guys and doesn't charge a cent for businesses to access their own data. Wasabi, another championship story. Check them out for free at wasabi.com.
Date next.
Listen up, basketball fans. Head to the Rabbit Hole in Minneapolis, your ultimate tournament headquarters, for an all-day KFAN tournament watch party today. With 45-plus big screens, you won't miss a single moment of the action. Come hang out with the Power Trip's Zach Halverson from 5 to 7. Enter for your shot to win awesome prizes, including a TV every 2 hours. Get all the details now, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
That sounds like a good time. I hope that's going well.
I know Corey was out there at one point.
Outstanding.
Sauce was out there. Parker Fox made an appearance.
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm guessing extremely festive. Let me give you a men's college basketball big dance scoreboard update. 4.5 minutes to go. First half. No, actually, second half. 4.5 minutes to go in the ball game. A barn burner, St. Mary's, a 7 seed, 53. Vandy, a 10, 50. Early second half, Ole Miss, 48. North Carolina, much maligned North Carolina, 28. Now Ole Miss 50 to 28. Maryland, the team that Eric Musselman was praising, destroying Grand Canyon. Maryland's a 4, and they're up on Grand Canyon 33-13, 5 minutes to go in the first half. We'll be watching our guy Richard Pitino. That game is at 6:25, I believe, on TBS. New Mexico, his club, taking on 7-seed Marquette. And then there's a bunch of other games, including Illinois taking on Xavier later tonight. Oregon from the Big Ten taking on Liberty later tonight. Earlier today, Duke, a 1-seed, destroys Mount St. Mary's 93-49. Alabama has a battle with Robert Morris, but eventually pulls away to win as a number 2 seed, 90-81 against a 15. Iowa State, your school, destroyed Lipscomb 82-55. And Nico Medved, believed to be the front runner, if there's not already a deal done, to be the next coach of the men's basketball team at the University of Minnesota, as a 12 seed knocks off 5 seed Memphis 78-70, even though oddsmakers had Colorado State favored to win the ball game, which was kind of interesting. Baylor 75, a 9 seed. Mississippi State, an 8 seed, 72. I think that's all the finals, right? I think we've covered. That looks like the complete
today,
score for so far today. There's obviously a bunch of. There were 16 games yesterday. There'll be 16 games today. Also from the Big Ten, Michigan State in action tonight at 9:00, facing Bryant. Michigan State is, of course, a number 2 seed. It was interesting. Also, I think the impression I got from Eric is that Big Ten has good more continuity maybe than some other schools to an extent, but the high-end pro talent, is there enough high-end pro talent in the Big Ten? And that's an ongoing question that I think is a very fair one that may have something to do with the relatively long period of time since a Big Ten team has won the national championship. So, I feel like this league still wants to be known as the physical league, the big boy league in that regard. But do you have enough talented, explosive wings, that you're looking for? Maryland, I think, does, but how many teams do? And maybe that's got to be part of the equation going forward. We will see. 64686 is the Bradshaw and Bryan KFAN text line. So we've had a decent amount of basketball talk today for all the obvious reasons. We are going to talk football right around the corner. So if you have a question for Ben Goessling, he's coming up. And then Lavelle will cover all sorts of different toy department-related subjects with Lavelle. He is scheduled for 5:30 today. The number, as most of you know by now, is 64686. That's the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. We will cover, maybe for the last time, maybe not, the A-Rod story with Goessling. And there was some news today that Rodgers visited the Pittsburgh Steelers offices, and apparently the meeting is being described by Schefter as having been productive, but he left without a deal getting done. So does that mean the momentum is in the corner of the Steelers? Does that mean A-Rod will continue to play the field and just do nothing? The problem that Rodgers has is it's almost like he's got to decide how much of a long shot betting man he is, right? Because if he wants to bet on the possibility that somewhere down the road the Vikings might come rat-a-tat-tatting on his door again, he's got to almost be convinced of it or be prepared to retire, because if he waits too long on the Steelers, at some point I'm guessing they're going to say, we can't keep waiting. We got to get somebody in here. Maybe not. Maybe the Steelers will also wait him out. So that to me is going to be the interesting question on Rodgers is how is he a betting man? And is he willing to risk just, snubbing his nose at Pittsburgh and the Giants and any other job to say, I'm going to play this out in case something can happen with the Vikings later when the pressure is off, knowing he may never get a chance to play here, likely will not have a chance to play here. And then what is he left with? Retirement? Or I guess he could do the old, I'll wait till somebody gets hurt and maybe we swoop in during the season. He's A-Rod. I'm sure he thinks he's the kind of guy who can just walk in and take over the club. And by the way, take over the play calling. We know he's famous for that as well. We'll get to that and some other National Football League stuff. We might even talk to Ben Goessling about Gopher men's basketball. It's his school. We'll see if he has any theories on why we keep going through these, it seems, same cycles over.
PayPal lets you pay all your pals, like your graduation gifters.
Who's paying for the mattress topper?
You mean the beanbag chair?
Aren't we getting a mini fridge?
Can we create a pool on PayPal? It lets us collect the money before we buy.
Ooh, yes, that's smart.
Glad we can agree on something.
Easily pool, split, and send money with PayPal. Get started in the PayPal app. A PayPal account is required to send and receive money. A balance account is required to create a pool.
Struggling to get out of bed? It might be time for an upgrade. Lisa makes exceptionally comfortable mattresses designed for every body and budget. But what truly sets them apart is their commitment to giving back. Since 2015, they've donated over 41,000 mattresses nationwide. Elevate your sleep and your space with Lisa. Go to lisa.com for 20% off their award-winning mattresses, plus an extra $50 off with promo code IHEART. That's LEESA.com. Promo code IHEART for an extra $50 off.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
You guys know I'm always up for a good MVP story, and one of the best is the story of Wasabi Technologies. Wasabi is purpose-built to free businesses from skyrocketing storage costs and unpredictable egress fees from old and top-heavy legacy providers. You know, the big guys. Wasabi is the world's hottest cloud storage company, becoming the go-to provider for professional and collegiate sports teams and leagues around the world, and here's why. From Wasabi's AI-enabled intelligent media storage, Wasabi Air, to the industry's only cloud storage service with triple protection against cyber criminals, data deletion, and ransomware, Wasabi's taken the lead in driving innovation in data storage, eliminating overhead where it matters to deliver you results you can count on and won't break the bank. In fact, Wasabi is up to 80% less than those other guys and doesn't charge a cent for businesses to access their own data. Wasabi, another championship story. Check them out for free at wasabi.com.
And over again.
Comedian and podcaster Tom Segura is hitting the road. Catch him when he brings the Come Together Tour to the XL Energy Center Friday, April 18th. Don't miss out on this hilarious night of comedy. Enter for your chance to win a pair of tickets. KFAN.com, keyword calendar. KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Blakemore found the song, and it's a really long instrumental build-up, and we don't want to like playing our bumper music too long anyway. But the song is called The Love We Lost. And interestingly, it could well apply to our conversation last hour with Eric Musselman, but it also could apply to our next guest, Ben Goessling, because he covers the Minnesota Vikings, and apparently the Aaron Rodgers dream has died. That love has also been lost. That's according to pretty much anybody that matters. And Goessling joins us via the Connecticut Water Systems Hotline, brought to you by, as always, our good friends at Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. At the risk of sounding like a suck-up, like, you know, media people always stand up for other media people, I'm going to try to do that to a certain extent regarding the Rodgers story to this extent. There's an element of folks out there who believe this has been an invented story from the beginning, that there was never even a shred of truth to any of it, and they view it as clickbait. All these guys, they need the clicks. That's what they need. And I'm not going to pretend that clickbait doesn't matter or that clicks don't matter in the modern media world. But what I will say about you and about Seifert, as individuals I've worked with for a long time, Seifert in print and, you know, then all of us on this show, is you guys don't need to go down that road. You just don't. You don't need whatever, if you want to call it clickbait or whatever. I know you want your stuff read. Juicy stuff is interesting even for you. But you guys never had a reason to go down the road you did. And I think both of you and several others were fairly consistent of unlikely to happen, But that's different than pretending that there were not conversations in that building about the possibility of taking this leap. Is that fair?
Yes, 100%. And I think I appreciate the characterization of it. I think it's right. I'm not somebody that likes to stir up drama beyond, the occasional zinger on this show, I suppose. And I think Seifert's probably the same way.
Yes.
Both of us are typically pretty sober-minded about the things we put out there. It's not just every little thing that you hear to try to get attention or to try to get, generate buzz or any of that stuff. It's when you hear something that you think is worthwhile and solid enough to be trustworthy, then you start to pursue it and you start to talk about it in a public fashion. And it was kind of how you laid it out. I don't think it was ever terribly likely, but there was certainly enough intrigue on the Vikings' part and certainly on Aaron Rodgers' part about being in Minnesota that it's like at least you have the conversation. It's not something you rule out because there is still a measure of uncertainty. Even as excited as they are about J.J. McCarthy, you're looking at options to say if there's a setback, if there's something where he's not ready, or we just want to give him a little more time, you want to have an option that can go out and take a 14-3 team and try to win this year. And when that option in question is a guy who's won 4 NFL MVPs, you're at least going to have the conversation. I never thought it was particularly feasible for a lot of the reasons that we've talked about, and I think that plenty of others have talked about, but you certainly at least explore, is there a fit here? And that's about where we've been. And I think the idea of it happening is not completely 100% dead, but I think it's close enough to that we don't need to spend a lot of time worrying about it. But yes, I think it is something that you go through the process and then people say what they're going to say. I guess my response to that would be everybody complains about paywalls and trying to have people pay for your stuff.
Yes.
Part of the reason organizations do a paywall is the admission that clicks do not make you that much money. So you can pick, I guess, to be mad about the paywall, or you can be mad, or you can call it clickbait, but you probably can't have both of those things.
That's a great point. That's 100% true. I got I got an email. I don't know what day it came in. It was either yesterday, the day before, might have even been the day before that. I'm not sure. And it was juicy. It was fascinating. And the individual said, this was to me, not to the inbox. And it said, look, you may not believe me. You may not think I'm trustworthy, but I know. I don't just think. I know Rodgers visited the Vikings facility. They turned off all the security cameras. They did it. I don't know if it was the dead of night or not. I'm not sure. But he's already been there. The wheels are turning. They may slow the pace a little bit now that the pressure's off, but there's no doubt that he's coming. Now, I was trying to reconcile that with the news that today Rodgers visited the Pittsburgh Steelers offices. And originally, the sources were saying, good chance he's going to come to terms today. Now, the update, though, in fairness, is he did have a visit. Allegedly, it went reasonably well, I think, according to Schefter, but they don't yet have a deal. So I guess I can't dismiss the guy who's emailing me, the deep throat guy, claiming he's got sources who tell him that all you guys missed the story. He was there at a time where you should have known it, but you don't. But I think we'll agree if he signs with the Steelers, that does kind of end it. Not 98%, but 100%, correct?
Yes, it would. If he signs with the Steelers, then he is under contract with another team, and talking to the Vikings under the cover of darkness or whatever it would happen to be would be classified as tampering. So, yes, if it gets done that way, we can put the story to bed. Until then, I guess I'll have to look into the fact or look into the idea that there was a secret clandestine meeting that nobody knows about except for the guy that emailed you. I mean, sometimes you just have to tip your cap when somebody's got better sources than you do. And, I'll have to look into that. And if that's the case, I'll be the first one to say, hey, good job, man. I got beat. I will admit it was really well crafted. I mean, there was no real evidence. There was no, there was really no, it wasn't Woodward and Bernstein like regarding who, the two sources, but it was dramatic and it was lengthy. And so I should have saved it. I probably should have read it to you because it was kind of fun. So we'll see. I think, like you said, it's always been unlikely.
But I think the only thing that for me will eliminate it is, okay, once he signed, because I was saying this earlier, do you think there's any chance that he plays it out and says, I'm willing to take this risk. I'm willing to literally wait it out to see if something does open up either for the Vikings or maybe even another team during the season if there's an injury, knowing that in the meantime, my real chances now have been eliminated because presumably Pittsburgh would have to move on. The Giants would have to move on if they're ever in this, and that Rodgers could live with this. Okay, I'll just live with that. If there's an opening that comes up that I really like, then I dive in without having to go to all the mini camps. And if not, I retire.
Well, I mean, it would not shock me if he has had that thought, because I recall, I think with Favre, when Favre came in 2009, wasn't there initially like an indicator in the spring of, hey, it's not going to happen?
Correct.
And then it came back up in
You're
August.
Right. You're right.
I think that happened, if I recall it correctly. I wasn't covering the team at the time, but obviously it was a big enough story to be paying attention to it. So he has been a guy in the spring that we've seen the pattern. He doesn't particularly enjoy the spring program. He typically wants to be off doing something else or seeing some other part of the world, or sampling whatever he may be able to find in a village somewhere. And it's not impossible, I suppose, that he does that. I mean, he marches to the beat of his own drummer, and I don't know that he would rule out that possibility. I think if you do that, you're running the risk of there's nowhere to go, and you kind of have to take one option as opposed to several different ones. But, he's enough of an iconoclast that I guess you can't rule anything out until he puts his name on a piece of paper.
So from your, again, there have been no mini camps. I think we're all, what you guys are hearing is that in terms of, JJ's, rehabilitation, he's on schedule allegedly. He's regained the weight. It seemed like he had a dramatic weight loss, but that's on schedule and all that sort of thing. Do you think what the Vikings are going to be evaluating here is literally his physical condition rehabbing along, with various times, mini camps, off-season stuff, and then ultimately you get to training camp? Or is it, do you think, just as likely it's, all right, we liked what we saw of him in the preseason last year and of training camp. We really did. But we, once again, because this is the big time now, man, and we're talking about giving him the keys to what they now, I think, believe is a Cadillac, right? If I can use that dated term. And that we got to be sure that we're not premature, that even if we love him, that to give him the keys right from the beginning, maybe that is going to be a little bit too much. And does that give us the best chance to be successful? But let's say they say no. What you don't really have. I mean, I don't even think the backup you're going to bring in it's not going to be somebody you want to give the keys to for 10 games, is it?
Probably not. I mean, I think you're getting to the point where that becomes a little more difficult to find that person, maybe not impossible, but I think it does become a little harder to have another plan like they did with Sam Darnold last year. And we all, looked at Sam Darnold with an eyebrow raised as well. And they were the ones saying, hey, he can be better than you think. I don't know if they thought he was going to be 35 touchdown guy, but I think they felt good enough about the possibility of rolling forward with him. There's not that person there at the moment, and I expect they will sign somebody. I think that is the plan, is to have a veteran. Who that is and when it happens is still a bit of a question, because I think a lot of what they're trying to do is acquire a quarterback in a way that doesn't hurt the comp pick formula for next year, which they're currently in pretty good shape with that. So I don't think they want to sign somebody to a big deal, and that's part of what may take a while too, because there's a deadline the Monday after the draft where you can sign anybody you want, and it no longer affects that. So they could be playing this out for a little bit if it goes that way. But I do think the longer you wait, it is harder to find that person that you feel completely good about if J.J. McCarthy's not ready. So that does affect it to a degree. But I think as a whole, last year they were so careful with the timeline of this in terms of when he would even take first-team reps in training camp, because they don't want to put him out there on a timeline that's dictated by anything other than when they feel this guy is ready to go and not give the job back. So I think a lot of this spring is about how is he doing in the offense? How did that year of time to sit and learn help him run things? I had this conversation with a couple of coaches this week of there's a progression for a quarterback where you go from, okay, I need to understand how to run our offense and where everything goes and how I set protections and how I run, motions and adjustments to routes and that kind of thing. You go from that to this is second nature. Now I can look at the defense and say, how are we going to attack it? And that takes a while for a quarterback to get there. And I think a lot of their question will be, how much did that first year where he had all of this study time advance him in that process where in year two, he's ready to go command the offense well enough that he can start to attack defenses with it. And I think study habits, everybody raves about it. I think people feel good about his rehab, but you still need to see some on the field learning and on some on the field execution before you feel completely ready to go with him. I think the plan right now is that he's the guy, but I also think they are going to give themselves some type of a backstop in the event that he comes through that process and they say, hey, he just needs a little more seasoning to be ready to go.
Let me get to a couple things you've tweeted about. This Lions proposal, a rules change potentially where it would change the way the NFL does playoff seeds. It would strictly be by record rather than prioritizing division winners. Of course, this last year, that would have meant the Vikings would have been the number 3 seed rather than falling from 1 to 5 after losing that last game, meaning we would have opened at home against Tampa Bay. Does this thing have much? I mean, you could say this is logical, but this league has always had a fixation on, well, we got to keep the integrity of divisions, division races, if indeed, divisions matter. Does this thing have much of a chance to gain momentum?
I guess I would be skeptical if it passes. I mean, you need 24 teams to vote yes on it. So 3/4 of the league has to vote yes on any rules proposal for it to become an official rule for the next season. And we'll get an answer to those things in a couple of weeks at the NFL owners meetings. But the NFL, like you said, has been very much pro-division. They backload the schedule with division matchups. The final week of the season is 100% division games so that basically every one of those 16 games in the last week of the season has the potential where a division championship, or in the case of last year, a division championship and home field advantage are on the line. I mean, they want those storylines and the drama to be as high as possible in the last week of the season, and they like those rivalries, especially in the NFC when it's older markets because it's the old NFL teams. Yeah. Some of those rivalries go back 70, 80, 90, 100 years. I mean, in the case of the Packers and the Bears, it's 100 years. So they like those things enough that I feel like there's a little bit of a headwind for something like this to pass. And last year was unique. I mean, the Vikings, I think, were the first 14-win wild card ever. The Packers, I think, tied an NFL record for the best third-place record in league history. So, that's a unique situation, but is that going to happen every year that we need to throw the whole thing out? I'm not sure, and I think there will be a lot of people saying, hey, we like a lot of things about the division format, so the one hiccup is not enough to change it. I'll be curious to see if it gets much momentum. I guess I'm skeptical that it will just because of the way the league has set things up and how it's kind of said we want division play to matter.
I don't know if we talked, who's our new running back, Jordan Mason? Is that his name?
Yeah.
The 49ers guy? I don't know if that deal was already done when we talked last week. I'm intrigued by it. I thought it was a very, very sneaky good move. Since then, we sign, I'm assuming to a lesser deal, Rondale Moore, kind of an all-purpose kind of a guy, as perhaps competing for the third receiver spot, maybe some return work as well. And I'm intrigued by him, too. Perhaps not on the same level because he's got to prove he can get healthy right after missing last year with a knee injury. But what did you make of that move? Because we all remember him. I certainly remember him from college, and I remember him at his best. I don't know how badly that knee injury has wiped out, some of what made him, I think, pretty intriguing as a threat. What did you make of that, and what have you heard regarding his recovery?
Well, I think the recovery, he should be on track to be back this year. I think how you're coming back from those things is always, there seems to be two thresholds of it. It's, number one, you're good enough to be back on the field, and number two, you're sort of back to your old self in every sense of the word. And I think sometimes that takes a while for a lot of these things for guys. But if he is back to what he was, I think it's a really interesting signing because we've seen it. Gophers fans have seen it when he was at Purdue. And Vikings fans have actually seen it. He had his longest catch in the NFL in week 2 against the Vikings in 2021. The Greg Joseph PA, it's good. No, he missed the game.
Yeah.
He had like a 71-yard touchdown in that game and had a big day. He's shifty. He's a guy that can make people miss and turn it on and go upfield. If you have a young quarterback, I think it's a nice option because you can put him in on some of the underneath stuff and say, take the ball and go, and you probably play him on special teams as well. So it's a bet on health, and the Vikings have made a lot of these because I think they feel like there's a market efficiency there. You can get guys affordably and trust your medical staff, which they have a lot of belief in, to go out and help this guy stay on the field. But I think if it works, it's the type of receiver they have not had in quite a long time, and it would be interesting to see how he factors into that offense with all the other weapons they have. I think he could fit a nice niche in the whole thing if, in fact, he's healthy enough to do it.
I'm with you. I thought it's worth it. I'm assuming there's not a lot of money involved, and that you're pretty well protected, and because the onus is kind of on him to prove that he can wake up the echoes of the past. Speaking of waking up the echoes, I don't know how far back you have to go to wake up the echoes of greatness for Gopher men's basketball. I guess Clem, notwithstanding the scandal, but as a proud alum, watching your school again go through the process of firing a coach, trying to figure out who the next one's going to be, and learning perhaps today that the price tag has gone up on Nico after his team as a 12 seed knocked off Memphis, even though they were favored by the odds makers. And now there's also some reports that there may be some other schools sniffing around Nico. So I don't even know what is a sure thing at this point. What are your impressions about what's missing, what can be done, or is this just a school that's just going to have to be resigned to its college basketball fate?
I have a hard time believing that it needs to be resigned to that because, I mean, you were here when it was at its best, and I remember that from being a kid, when the barn was full, and that was a tough place to play. This was one of the hardest tickets in town, and it's always this question of, what do we do with the barn? Do you replace it? Do you renovate it? I mean, I think certainly at a minimum, a renovation has to happen for the program to be able to compete in the Big Ten and just in the modern NCAA landscape. But I guess I wouldn't say that it has to be, throw in the towel because, I mean, we've seen it over the last 10, 15 years here. There are players that come out of Minnesota that are big-time NCAA talents, and are you going to get all of them to stay home? Probably not. But if you get the occasional, whether it's one of the Jones brothers from my alma mater down in Apple Valley, or a Chet Holmgren or Jalen Suggs, if you get one of those guys to stay home, it can change the whole thing, and then things kind of flow from there. So I think a lot of it is figuring out what to do with the barn. You get the right coach that wants to invest and keep guys home. But I think Ben Johnson wanted to do a lot of that too. It's just you have to have something to be able to sell them. So the tricky part of it is, fixing the arena, finding the right coach, having the collective to work with all the NIL stuff. It's a long process, but I think there is enough talent innately in this market, and there are fans that will come back to it if there's something to come back to and be excited about. That I think it's still something they should try to pursue. And, Mark Hoyle obviously has enough of a basketball background and has been at Syracuse that I think it's a priority for him. I'll be interested to see what he does with it, but I still think there's a way back in that sport as much as anything else. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do, but I'm still bullish on the potential for Gopher basketball, I guess.
Have a wonderful weekend. Thanks as always for the time, and we will chat next week. Thanks, Ben.
All right. Sounds good, Dan. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. That is Ben Goessling, brought to you by Standard Heating and Air. Lavelle in about a half hour and change. Top 5 will include.
Finally, we have a Minnesota Wild player returning from injury.
Wendy's is the official hamburger of March Madness, which means more deals for you and more burgers for your face. It also means we got a junior bacon cheeseburger or a double stack for $1 with an in-app offer and a purchase. It's hard not to get excited when there's an offer of 2 of the freshest hot off the grill burgers that Wendy's makes. The junior bacon cheeseburger with the fresh beef, applewood, smoked bacon, cheese, crispy lettuce, tomato, and mayo. And the hot and juicy double stack with 2 patties of fresh, never frozen beef with cheese, ketchup, mustard, pickle, onion. The real champions of March Madness. Head to Wendy's app and grab a $1 junior bacon cheeseburger or a $1 double stack and an in-app offer and a purchase. For the freshest deal in fast food, gotta be Wendy's.
PayPal lets you pay all your pals, like your graduation gifters.
Who's paying for the mattress topper?
You mean the beanbag chair?
Aren't we getting a mini fridge?
Can we create a pool on PayPal? It lets us collect the money before we buy.
Ooh, yes, that's smart.
Glad we can agree on something.
Easily pool, split, and send money with PayPal. Get started in the PayPal app. A PayPal account is required to send and receive money. A balance account is required to create a pool.
Optimize your nutrition with Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal service. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Choose from 40 weekly options across 8 dietary preferences like Calorie Smart and Protein Plus. Factor's keto meals can help you lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks. Get started at factormeals.com/factor50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Weight loss with Factor Keto based on a randomized controlled clinical trial. Results will vary depending on diet and exercise.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check for the nearest bathroom first before the game starts. Now you're heading in the wrong direction, and it sounds like your team's taking the lead. Checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.